Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Simone here. Today I'm going to be filming a video that I think for me is really interesting, and that is looking at the top 10 biggest books on my TBR. I have lots of books on my TBR, my own shelf basically, and some of them are quite big basically, and I really wanted to talk about them today. I find it really interesting to think about some of the massive books I have. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm going to start with the smallest of the biggest books, if that makes any sense. So the smallest of the 10 on this list is 702 pages long, and that is Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King and Owen King. Owen King is Stephen King's son. I have quite a few Stephen King books on this list because he generally likes to write massive books. This one is chunky. This basically, I don't actually know what it's about. It says, around the world something strange is happening to women. They are falling victim to a sleeping virus which shrouds them in a cocoon-like gauze. If woken, if the gauze is disturbed, the women become rabid. In the small town of Dooling, West Virginia, the virus is spreading through a women's prison, affecting all inmates except one, the enigmatic Evie. The abandoned men are starting to fight one another, while the town sheriff, Lila Norcross, is just fighting to stay awake and solve the mystery. But the clock is ticking, and the women of Dooling are about to open their eyes to a new world altogether. Okay, that sounds really interesting. I actually had no idea what this was about, and as you can see, I got this book. Annoyingly, there's a sticker for £4 at my local, I think it was my supermarket, and I thought, for such a big book for £4, I couldn't really turn it down, and I can't wait to give this book a read and see if I can tell which bits Stephen King's written and which bits his son's written. But overall, I'm just really excited for this. Next up is a book that we all know I'm going to read soon, because how many times now have I said it? That is City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare, which is the 6th book in the Mortal Instruments series, and the final book. I need to read this so I can read all of Cassandra Clare's other books basically, and I keep saying I'm going to read this, and I'm determined. In fact, I'm going to say right now, the book I'm reading right now, I'm going to read this next. Let's not get excited, guys. In fact, by the time this goes up, I might have already started it. Go and check out my Goodreads and see if I'm lying or not. But that's my hope. We will soon see. This, I don't actually know specifically the story of this one, obviously, because it is the 6th book in a series. I don't want to go into it, obviously, because you might not have read the other 5 books. But this one is 725 pages long. Next up is another Stephen King book, and this one is another one I don't really know anything about, and that is Bag of Bones by Stephen King. As you might be able to tell, when I go to a charity shop, if I see a Stephen King book, I will pick it up, even if I've never heard of it before. This one, shall I read it again? Sorry guys, I'm going to read it again. It says, when Mike Noonan's wife dies unexpectedly, the best-selling author suffers from desperate writer's block. Until he is drawn to their summer home, Sarah laughs, the beautiful Maine lakeside retreat which has recently been haunting his nightmares. But Mike finds the once familiar town now in the tyrannical grip of millionaire Max DeVore. DeVore is hell-bent on getting custody of his deceased son's child and is twisting the fabric of the community to this purpose. 3-year-old Kira and her young mother turn to Mike for help. Increasingly besotted with them, Mike is powerless to resist, but there are other sinister forces at Sarah laughs, determined to stand in their way, and Kira can feel them too. That sounds really interesting. Again, not really sure what it is completely, but Stephen King in general, I'm always a big fan. And this one is 736 pages. Next up is one I can't currently find on my shelf. I don't know where I've put it. I've obviously hidden it away somewhere very secret. But that is Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. I have actually read this before, but I'm rereading this Twilight series. I read the first one a long time ago now. But I'm going to reread all the others. So I have still got it on my kind of to be read pile, even though I have technically already read it once. This one is the 4th and final book in the Twilight saga. It is 756 pages long. It is the biggest one of the whole lot, and yeah, I'm looking forward to rereading it because, like I said, it's been a while since I did read it last. The next one is one that I'm quite sceptical about reading, and I'm quite nervous about it. That one is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. This is, I believe, a literary fiction book, which is why I'm a little bit nervous because I've never really read much literary fiction. I believe this is about a boy named Theo who is 13, and his father, it says he survives a catastrophe that tears his life apart. He's alone in New York and he's taken in by the family of a wealthy friend. I don't know anything else about it. Like I said, this is incredibly daunting to me. However, Nicole from A Beautiful Chaos of Books, who I love, she read this one, and thought it was okay, I think, so I'm interested. I am planning on, in the month of May, buddy reading The Secret History with Charlie from Charlie Brooke. I will link her channel down below too. So we'll see if I like her writing, because that one's a little bit smaller, I think. Not much though. And this one is 771 pages. Next up is Cross Stitch by Diana Gabaldon, which most people know as Outlander. This is the English name that was given to it when the series was first released. This is the first book. I've had this book for ages and still haven't read it. I do need to get to this one. This follows a woman named Claire Randall who in 1945 walks through a stone circle in the Highlands and ends up in 1743 in the middle of a violent skirmish, as it says on the back. And then I believe she is married in 1945, but she finds a man who she starts to fall in love with in 1743, and yeah, I'm not entirely sure kind of what happens, but I'm interested. I know there's a TV series of Outlander which I've never seen, but maybe I'll watch it if I read this book. This one is massive. It is 864 pages. The book is very unassuming. It does not look as big as it is, but the pages are like Bible pages. They're like so thin. So yeah, when I get to this one I feel like it's going to take me some time. Next up is another Stephen King one, and this is actually a short story collection, I believe. This one is Nightmares and Dreamscapes by Stephen King, which, like I said, is a short story collection. There appears to be 23 short stories in this, so I'm looking forward to this one. I do really enjoy Stephen King as an author, and yeah, I really like his books. Have I read any of his short story collections? I don't think I have, so I feel like this could be really interesting to get to. I think I own a couple of his short story collections now, so I do need to get to them. But yeah, looking forward to this one. It sounds really interesting. Next up is the book that I think I bought when I watched someone's video, maybe like 2 years ago, and I haven't picked it up, and it is huge. It's 897 pages, and I'm not 100% sure if I will ever get to this, but it's on my shelf, so maybe I will. This one is I Know This Much Is True by Wally Lamb. Like I said, it's nearly 900 pages long. I believe it's about twin boys, and one of them, Dominic, has had to change his whole life around his brother Thomas, who is a paranoid schizophrenic. And I mean, if I felt really brave, I could read this for the mental health-a-thon next month, which I'll link down below. Nicole is amazing. You need to go and check out that video. My next video will actually be my TBR for that on Monday. However, I don't think that I want to read a 900-page book. I don't know. Do you think I should? Do you think I should give it a go over the month of May? Or should I not bother? Let me know. But yeah, this one is humongous, and I'm not sure if I really want to read it or not. Next up is one that I bought on holiday, and this one is 969 pages, and it is A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin, which I believe is the second book in the Game of Thrones series. I've read the first one. I listened to it on audiobook, so I feel like maybe I'm going to pick this one up on audiobook at some point, but I imagine it's going to be like a 50-hour audiobook, so maybe not. I really enjoyed the first book, so hopefully I will also enjoy the second. Yeah, it's one that I feel like I'm really going to have to like set some time aside to read. This is not one that you can kind of read on a whim, you know, in a weekend or anything. Yeah, it's massive, but I'm really excited actually, and I feel like now the TV series is like, the last series is happening. Once I read the books, I may actually watch the whole series, because I've never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones. I know. So yeah, maybe I'll read the books and then watch the TV show. And finally guys, we have the biggest book on my TBR. Now again, a little bit cheating because I have technically read this book before, but I do want to reread it because I found my own copy. The last copy I read from the library, and then I found my own copy in the charity shop for £1.50, which was amazing. This is Under the Dome by Stephen King. It's 1074 pages long. It's amazing. I absolutely love this book. Love this book. It follows basically a little town where a dome appears over the town, like a big dome, and planes crash into it. Cars crash into it. It cuts things in half when where it lands, and basically nobody can get out and nobody can get in, and it's about the internal struggle of the town trying to communicate with the outside, trying to figure out how this thing is there. And yeah, It's amazing. I absolutely love it, and I do really want to reread it because yeah, I love it, and I really love this copy that I have, so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, this is officially the biggest book on my shelf. It's over 1,000 pages long. It's quite good to know that I've actually read this before. Quite impressed by that. So there you have it, guys. That is the 10 biggest books on my TBR. Let me know what the biggest book on your TBR is. I'd be really interested to know. I have previously read Les Mis, and that was probably the biggest book I've ever read, and I think that was about 1,500 pages. And they were difficult pages too. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and come back on Monday when my mental health-a-thon TBR is up. I'm very excited. See you next time, guys. Bye.